North Carolina State Highway Patrol.
What cigarette do you smoke, Doctor?
A contributing factor to our juvenile delinquency of today.
Rock and roll has got to go.
And welcome back to the Hometown Holler. I'm Daniel Ayers.
And I'm Quinn Ray. Well, hey, man.
You know, there is no business like show business. like no business I know.
Oh, okay.
I'm serious.
Elaborate.
Well, I mean, you should know this. You're a thespian.
I was a thespian, and I was.
Tell them the joke that you told me while we were setting up about you being the cool kid with a thespian joke.
Yeah, I thought I was. It was my freshman year of college. I was doing orientation, and I really thought we got put into these small groups, and
this kills me.
We had to introduce ourselves, do an icebreaker, and so I thought I was.
And you get one first impression.
Oh, just one. Mm-hmm. And so I was probably in my group of 6 strangers, people I didn't know, and I thought I was really going to be witty with this. 2005, 18-year-old Quinn, and I was like, "Hey, my name's Quinn Ray. I'm a thespian, and I'll let you watch." And I thought I was being good. Yeah, it was. They were just like,
tough crowd.
Yeah, gotcha, buddy. It's a little more crass.
I think it's hilarious. I think that's great. Well, today we're all thespians.
Yeah.
We're here to talk theater, community theater, the importance of community theater, with none other than Tami Kress. Tami, a lot of folks in the community already know you. Like you're actually somebody that several people have said, have y'all thought about having Tami on the podcast? Yeah. So we're really happy we finally get around to doing this, thanks to popular demand. And for the folks who don't know you already, you're the director of Studio One,
I am.
Which is one of our county's flagship theater companies.
Yes, sir.
And you play a big role, to use a theater analogy pun, in shaping local theater, and in doing so, bringing important stories to our community. I'm thinking specifically in the past year. I saw you guys bringing back the snow camp dramas,
yes.
Sort of Peace and Pathway, which were a big part of my childhood.
Sure,
I was in those back in the day. And those 2 plays in particular, I think, are very important stories from our state and our community that need to be told. So you guys are doing us a great service by bringing those back. But anyway, we're here to talk about all things community theater, why it's important, why it's such a service to the community. And maybe we could kick things off just a little bit by talking about, you tell us, what is Studio One, and what are you guys getting up to right now?
Great. So we have a black box theater in Holly Hill Mall. So that sets us apart from a lot of community theater groups because we have our own space.
Mm-hmm. And that's amazing.
It is amazing.
Because when I was doing theater, we always had to find a spot.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes the spot was great, and sometimes it was like a one-room schoolhouse in December without heat.
Right.
And that's a lot to ask grandparents to do.
Right.
So that just the fact that you guys have your own space.
Right.
That's remarkable.
And we love it. And it helps build, theater is all about community.
Yeah.
And building a community. And being able to have that space just makes it a second home for so many people. So we love that. So we have a black box theater in Holly Hill Mall. We have a scene shop, a classroom, a costume shop. We have 10,000 square feet that we fill and is rocking all the time, right? Mm-hmm. And then 4 years ago, we lost our minds a little bit and said, hey, let's take over Snow Camp Outdoor Theater and see what we can do about making all of that good again.
Whose idea was that?
I'm not going to take credit for that. My dear friend Debbie was involved out there, and she said, hey, let's go look at it one day. Mm-hmm. I might have encouraged her. That story is gray. But we went out and looked at it, and it was crazy. It was overgrown, and buildings were falling down, and it was just crazy. And I got done at the end of it, and I'm like, we're going to do this.
Yeah, right.
We're going to save this place.
Because at the same time,
amazing.
Anybody who goes in there, and you can attest to this, that space has such presence.
Oh, yeah.
And has such spirit.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
I visited there for the first time with, what was it, Jacob and the Multicolored Dream Suit?
The Technicolor coat?
Technicolor coat.
Yeah.
That was
my first time going out to the outdoor theater. And you're right, man. When you walk there, it definitely has this spirit of the the woods that just kind of like I was ready to be a nymph and just hang
Right,
out around.
right,
You know,
right.
it was
Yeah,
really
it's
cool.
It's just a beautiful. I don't know. The concept is wonderful. The history is wonderful. How they maintained it for all those years is just a wonderful, beautiful story. So for us to be able to be the next step in that story, we feel really lucky. It's been a labor of love for many years.
I mean, isn't that theater in general, right? The labor of love.
Yes, yes,
You know?
indeed, yes.
So for Studio One, we talk about community theater. You guys really put the community in community theater because the offerings, the programs you bring to the table, you got some that are geared towards youth, you got some that are geared towards adults, and people of all different backgrounds and abilities. Could you talk a little bit about what makes you guys really special in terms of your scope?
So I believe very strongly in reflecting your community. I think that's something I feel very strongly about and have worked hard to make that part of what we are. We are very close. We have a close relationship with Alamance Children's Theater, so we work very hard not to step on what their programming is, right? So our youth programming tends to be straight plays. We do a 24-hour play festival where a bunch of high school kids come and spend the night in the mall. Who gets to do that?
That sounds
right?
so cool,
Yeah.
dude.
And they write their stories through the night, and then they
Wow.
memorize them and perform them the next night at 7:30. So they're 24 hours in the mall.
That
doing-
sounds like I would
Right,
love that.
right.
Good
So-
old lock-in.
Yeah.
And they're
at
all
the
zombies
mall,
by the end,
right.
like sleep deprived.
But it's
To be
amazing.
or not to be.
Oh, they're always funny. They're always funny. So we do a lot of programming like that. That's very different from Alamance Children's Theater. And then we have a main stage that's adults. That's just traditional musicals. We're very mission driven, so we try to do unique stuff. So stuff that's not necessarily done other places or as often. So we do a lot of smaller musicals, musicals that are not as well known. Maybe a little controversial. So we are very mission driven with that, with all of our programming. But a big part of what we do is our inclusion program. It's called Side by Side program. And we work hard to provide opportunities for people who maybe aren't necessarily mainstream for opportunities in theater. So we have a shorts program for people with all kinds of disabilities. We have a great relationship with a lot of the group homes in the area. And that is, we have families involved, we have adults with disabilities, kids with disabilities. And this last one is this beautiful program with, it'll have kids in wheelchairs and kids who talk through iPads and adults who have lived in a group home for 40 years and people who are actors and been on stage for 40 plays. They come together and they do this beautiful program that Laura Wilder runs so well.
Love Laura Wilder.
Yeah.
She taught me how to write.
Oh, she's amazing.
When I was like 7 years old, taught me what an essay was.
I love it. Well, she's amazing with that group, and she just connects with them, and it's not a. When we're done with that program, she's like taking them out for their birthdays. The whole cast, like they all stay connected, and so we have the shorts program. We do a program every November called an shadowed production, an ASL shadowed production. So we work with the interns at UNCG Professions of Deafness.
Wow.
And they come in, and it's expanding. We have some professional terps that do it too. So in a traditional interpreted hearing world event, the deaf and hard of hearing have to ping pong between the event and the interpreters.
Right, person on the side, they're
So
going back and forth.
They call it ping ponging.
Okay.
Right? So in a shadowed production, what we do is we bring the interpreters onto the stage, and they become part of the cast with the actors.
Oh, that's so cool.
So they combine like when we did Shrek. Shrek was an actor, Willie Fisher, and then the terp was Shrek 2. Like they're both Shrek.
Right.
But you have to decide as a team kind of what that relationship is. So like when I went into the woods, I played the witch, and Indigo was my terp and my interpreter, and he became like my familiar because that's for a witch, right? That's normal. So he would like open the doors for me and carry my staff for me. In Shrek, they became the terp kind of became the eye roller. Shrek would do something dumb, and the interpreter would be like, "Oh, good grief, what is he doing now?" Anyway, so it becomes, but they're both Shrek on stage doing that. Last year we had this really amazing opportunity. We did Anne of Green Gables, and Natalie, who played Anne, was deaf, and her interpreter was her voice, which was Maddie Allmers became her voice, and we've had that opportunity with a few deaf actors. So it's such an it's my favorite program of the year. Where else can you experience two languages exactly at the same time and know exactly what's happening with both of them, right?
I have no answer for you for that. I don't know.
It's amazing. It's an amazing experience, right? And although the deaf and hard of hearing community love it, our hearing community loves it just as much, if not more, right? To be able to be
Yeah.
submersed in that experience is very, very cool.
Man,
So-
I'm really glad to hear the intentionality of doing things and making for opportunity, because without being intentional and having that, it would just be overlooked. And, we're starting to see that just nationwide and statewide with trying to get rid of intentionality to try to help.
Lots of seats being pulled away from the table.
Right.
Right.
And bringing people on. And like you said, the hard of hearing, it's great for them, but it also, like, I like vegan food too, even though I'm a carnivore.
Right. Yeah. It's an amazing experience. And then we do sensory sensitive performances, where really that's more about the audience being comfortable, just being who they are in the audience, right? We'll pull back loud noises. We leave the house lights on to half. But really, we just say it's okay to move around. It's okay to leave if you need to leave. It's okay to take a time out if you need to.
Right.
And families can come and experience theater together and not be stressed out about how their family member who has a sensory sensitive experience is going to react.
Now, is Studio One, is it a nonprofit? So you have a board that has to make these decisions, or do you just get to make the decisions?
Right. So we have a board. Actually, we have 4 boards.
Okay.
So we have the executive board for Studio One. Snow Camp has its own board. We have a youth board that's very active. They're not just hey, let's get some kids involved. They're very
You've got some
active.
amazing youth leaders. We were just
Yes.
talking about a couple of them before the
Yes.
show. I'm one of my favorite things about what you guys are doing is that it's so empowering to the young people, and they don't
Yes.
just get to act; they get to take on actual leadership roles and make
Absolutely.
consequential decisions. So
Yes.
that's really cool.
Yeah. And I'll give an example of that. So we were we do a junior board retreat every year. We do a retreat with each of our boards, and we just had this issue with transgender kids and dressing rooms, and it was all new. New is scary to people, right?
Yeah,
and I didn't
for
know
sure.
how to handle that correctly, and how does that work? And
That's a really fraught situation.
right.
Yeah.
And so we took it to the junior board, and like within 20 minutes, they had the solution.
Wait, so you let the kids solve that?
They solved that, and they
did.
totally solved it.
Wow.
And it's worked well for us, and the system they came up with is fantastic. And so so they're a very integral part of it. And then my 4th board is the diversity board, and that's a youth board, all POC kids, and their mission is very clear. They want other POC kids to see POC kids involved in the arts, right? So they just want visibility of that for the other kids, and I just really admire them too. We just started that board, and they're working really hard. Like they wanted to volunteer for the chocolate festival that was Saturday at the mall that Christmas Cheer did, because they wanted to be visible. They wanted
Right.
to see, those little kids walking by who don't necessarily see themselves reflected on stage, see themselves reflected in our organization.
I got
So-
some of those Oreo truffles y'all were giving away. It was really cool. And you had your tree hanging out
Tuck
there and stuff.
Everlasting.
Yeah,
That's
it
what
was
we-
great.
That's right. Yeah. Love that event.
So, like Quinn was saying, y'all are a nonprofit.
Yes, sir.
So when it comes to funding, like lots of grants,
Yes,
I'm
we
sure there's some community, support from
Yes.
families and
Yes,
supporters.
absolutely.
But is it mostly state, county? Where does that funding typically come from?
So we do have some county funding out at Snow Camp. Thank goodness. That's what keeps us going out there. But locally, we don't have county or federal funding. We don't have federal funding anywhere, and that's
Yeah.
iffy. So we have the State Arts Council. We have a grant. We have a grant through them. We have an amazing grant writer now who's finding all kinds of things for us to scope out. It's opening up a little bit.
Yeah.
Grants for the last. So when we first started, it was pretty open. You could get grants and they could be for whatever. And then they got super specific. Like, we'll only give you money if it's wellness related and involves a jungle gym or something.
Right. Very targeted.
Very targeted.
Focused, yeah.
Or you'd have to create new programming to fit whatever their grant was. And that was getting very, very difficult because, I mean, if you look at our schedule, we don't have room to create new programming, and we love our programming, and we want to maximize what we do.
I mean, you guys are already creating a lot of new programming.
Yes.
I mean, the programs you just described are not typical programs of your average community theater.
Right. And it takes time to create those, right? So, but just in the last couple of years, like the State Arts Council, Impact Alamance had this amazing grant where it's here's money, like do what you need with it.
Oh, they're the best.
And that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, when they
right?
trust you.
Right, because we need to support our current programming, to flourish.
So this is gonna hit on kind of what the climate of our nation is and stuff right now with grants. And
Yes.
one thing we
Scary.
just saw here in Alamance
Yeah, I was
County
hoping
with
you were gonna bring
with
it
a
up.
grant getting rejected because of just some language in there that
Yes.
people just seem to have an issue with, especially if there's a word called equity in it.
Well, just for folks who aren't familiar with that story, recently in Alamance County, it's grant writing season. Folks are submitting for grants. We have an organization in our community that helps victims of domestic violence and elder abuse. They were not asking for money from the county commissioners.
Correct.
They were asking permission to submit an application to possibly be selected to receive $250,000
From the state.
From the state, not from county taxpayers. So essentially what you have, imagine you're an Alamance County commissioner. You have somebody saying, can I have your permission to apply for money that won't cost your voters anything?
Right.
And that money will go towards helping victims of domestic violence in our community. Now, man, if there was ever a softball to knock out of the park,
That's the one.
That's
talk
the one.
about an easy win to put on your literature. Brought $250,000 to our county to fight,
Without
domestic
any
violence.
adverse effects to your tax base.
Man, that is like the juiciest meatball, right?
Right.
And they not only did they reject it, they did not even hold a vote.
Right.
They pretty much just like flipped the bird and said, thanks for playing.
Right. Right. So
It's terrifying.
it's very terrifying, and
Absolutely.
for something that you guys are doing and needing this grant money, and then just the programs you were telling us before, right? Has there been a ripple of worry yet in this,
Absolutely.
and how are we going to try to navigate this? Is it going to be a thing where, all right, community and surrounding community, we're going to need more individual donations from you guys, we need y'all to step up to continue this, or are we just going to
And local support.
Yeah.
Right? Like there's nothing coming down
Solidarity.
from the top. Like it's going to have to be local support. And what I've been preaching, especially over the last few weeks, is in the arts community, in the culture community, because I'm involved with it's a loose-based group that has brought all the museums together too. Like culture is very much a part of what I believe in, is that we have to be loud and proud. Like we have to be
Say
loud
it
and proud
again, Tami.
about the difference we make, the importance we make, the community we bring, the spirit we bring, the people we bring, right? Like we have a woman on the snow camp board that moved here from Florida because of our shadowed productions.
Wow.
Tell that story.
So,
right?
so you're bringing people from other states to come to our state and our community, which is
Right.
helping economic
Expanding
development.
the tax
Power.
base.
Okay, got it.
That doesn't even count all the people who we don't just want to watch. We want to bring them in to watch on purpose.
That's right.
Like all those people are coming in and buying gas and going out to dinner and supporting people and buying flowers to give to people. Like all of that is happening surrounding. So it's not just about community and feeling good, right? There's economic strength
Making some coin.
in what we bring and what we
Yes.
do. And people just have to be loud and proud. Because I don't know when you guys were involved in theater, but sometimes just felt like you had to kind of apologize for
Yeah.
asking for money for this kid's show that they're doing, and boy, though, I left that behind years ago. Like people just need to be loud and proud, and we are important, and what we do is important, and what we do is make a difference
Yeah.
in so many people's lives of all kinds of people.
Yeah. I'm going to try to leave names out of this, but it was Studio One, and y'all do like summer camps and stuff. And I have some friends who have kids that are involved in it. And you're talking about, you had a transgender issue about bathrooms. Well, I had a friend who was there, and their kid is trans, and they're very active. And then I had another friend whose kid just started maybe a year or two ago getting involved, went to a summer camp for the first time, never did any theater. Came back and was like, yeah, I met this kid. He's awesome. He's really cool. And like he said his name. I knew who he was talking about. The coolest part about it was he didn't skip a beat. He was it. Like, and it just helps. What you're doing helps shows humanity with people, and kids aren't worried about any of that stuff. And it just shows that adults are really trying to push
Create a
something.
problem.
Yeah, when like this kid went for the first time, he loved theater. They became friends. They're hanging out now, and he doesn't even question who he is.
Here's something though about the arts that I think are really important, and I'm involved with the Impact Alamance, the For Alamance initiative through the Harwood Institute, and this is my kind of elevator speech for that. So when we were doing our community conversations to find out information about the community, what they needed, I went to a group on Tuesday out in Saxe-Baja that was extremely liberal, right? Like I thought we were going to be running naked and beating on drums in the woods by the end, right?
Free love.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
And then on Friday, I went to a group that was super conservative.
Okay.
Extremely conservative.
I like where this is going.
5 minutes apart from each other, right? Five
Right.
minutes apart. And so as I finished those conversations and we went back and we were kind of talking about the county and the issues in the county and all the silos and how do we break down those silos and shift that civic culture so that we are more open and supportive and, sharing resources. And I had this beautiful realization that snow camp can bring Tuesday and Friday together.
Yeah.
How many places can Tuesday and Friday be in the same place doing this? Like they could come to Festival of Lights together.
Right.
They could come to Joseph together.
And they do.
And they do, right?
I'm so glad you said that because in preparing for this conversation, I started thinking about theater and I remembered how important it's been for my civic education.
Right.
Because theater, so many people in this community I know through theater, whether they came to a show that I was in, I went to a show they were in and read their name in a program. When I was a kid, they were, one of the parents who was getting us costumes or something. I mean, before we started recording, you and I just connected about several people that when I told them I'm having Tami Kress on the podcast, I was like, wait, you know Tami Kress? Like, and they were surprised that I knew you. But theater brings people together.
Absolutely.
And it's a little bit like, it's almost like church, where it's like everybody, people of every economic status, every racial, political background, intellectual ability. And Snow Camp especially is so important because it doesn't just bring people together, but the stories you're telling help people appreciate what we call home.
Right.
This county that we live in.
Absolutely.
and the people who made it. And I think it was so interesting to see you guys, for folks who grew up watching the Snow Camp plays, you guys have kind of adapted them a little bit, and you made some what I would call courageous choices. I think you took some risks, and I'm going to talk specifically about Sword of Peace. Are you guys going to do that again this year?
In April.
In April, so
End
it's
of
coming
April.
up, and I don't want to give any spoilers, but for folks who haven't seen it. If you saw the original, there's some fun things you guys do. There's time travel involved.
Right.
And when I first heard that, I heard it from Larry Wilson. Larry Wilson was like, there's some time travel. And I was like, that's a bold choice. I thought it really worked. And I thought it connected dots in our community's history. And it made me realize, holy crap, that the moral conflicts that were present in the lives of our ancestors are very similar to the moral conflicts that we face today in this community.
Right.
And when I went to that performance, in the audience was Representative Dennis Riddell. We went to the same show. And I thought, this is so interesting that, a crunchy hippie like me will come out and give a standing ovation to the same performance as our MAGA representative, and we both clapped, and we were there for the same purpose, consuming the same content, so to speak. And yeah, like you said, Tuesday and Friday come together at the theater, at the outdoor theater, and
builds bridges,
and it
Absolutely.
it does build bridges.
Absolutely.
So I guess this is a roundabout way of me saying thank you, because this is possible because you're making choices to make it such, to make it this way.
Thank you. Well, we have an incredible community who believes very much in what we do. And just the boards, I've got 50 people just on the boards, and that's a working board, and that doesn't count the dozens of volunteers that surround everything else and the families that believe in it and our supporters. Like it takes a whole community to make the community, right? And we're just very blessed to have great people involved.
So from the outside looking in, it feels like, for me, Studio One just all of a sudden just went boom. They're here in our community, and like they're punching way above their weight, and things are just. And how long of a process was that for you? How long did it take you to get 50 people on board to buy in to saying, we can do something, we can build bridges, we can give safe spaces, we can create an outlet for people and help bring up folks?
Yeah, because y'all have been here for how long? What did y'all?
Well, so we're finishing our 13th season, our official season.
See, that's crazy. I thought it's been like 3 years.
Yeah. So I started a few years before that doing stuff at my clubhouse in McIntosh on the Lake when we moved here. So we were doing shows and things there. And then it just grew to the point where I was like, we need our own place. I talked Tim Brown into coming on board and helping me. And we got our first place out at the old outlet mall.
Oh, yeah.
And that was our first
Right.
location.
With the blue roofs. Yeah.
They're red now.
They're red now.
They're red now? They used to be
Imagine.
blue, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know if there's
then
like
they kicked everyone out and they were going to make changes that didn't happen, but that's okay. So we were there for 4 years and it was great. And we grew slowly there. Right. And learned there. I learned so much, right? Learned so much. We're really blessed. We had a great tax group come on that just taught us so much. Anyway, really learned a lot. Then we moved to the mall and continued to grow. And then COVID hit. And COVID was amazing for us. I know that sounds crazy, but we were able to figure out, so we were able to keep the doors open. We were able to have this pod of kids, my junior board, who were able to still stay together and be in there. And we just took that year and a half and really did some internal reflecting and some improving and some planning and really figuring out who we were and what we wanted to be in the community. So then when we came out of COVID, we were ready to rock and roll and we did. And we've rocked and rolled ever since. And okay, not to brag, but I have to brag a little bit. So
Go ahead, stroke it.
Okay, great. So NCTC, National North Carolina Theater Conference, awarded us the Outstanding Community Theater of the Year for 2021 because of how we handled COVID. I know that's a big part of it, and because of Snow Camp was a big part of it too. But we were able to stream and figure it out and do all of that stuff through that and become a much stronger organization coming out of that. And then last year, we won a national award from the American Association of Community Theater. So we won the Twinkle Lynch Organizational Award. And that is very much because of the expanded programming that we do. And it was just, I'm not a big awards girl. Like, I don't watch award shows.
Sure.
I don't like to give awards because I'm all about community. But there was just something about both of those awards that just acknowledged you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, right? Like you guys are on the right track. What you're choosing to do for your community is good, and I'll take it.
We all need those little
those
extra
affirmations.
It was beautiful. Yeah. It was just beautiful. And then I was touring a theater in Salt Lake City, and the CEO, they introduced me to the head money guy, and he was on the American Association of Community Theater board, and the guy says, "Yeah, I think you won some award," and he goes, "Oh, are you Studio One?" And I was like, "Oh my God.
Oh shit, they know me.
That's me. And I don't know you and you're in Utah." And it was so exciting. It's like this kid at Christmas. It was so funny.
That's awesome.
But just people to say, you're doing what you need to be doing it's nice.
Yeah,
sometimes.
it's so nice, especially now, to see people doing good work that creates a healthy community that brings people together, getting affirmed, getting recognized. Like that's what we need. We need to see that. And the thing that's going to save us is going to be the Studio Ones. It's going to be these local initiatives that humanize us, and bring Tuesday and I love that analogy, bringing Tuesday and Friday together and show us that we're all kind of at the end of the day looking for the same thing, which is just like a nice show, a nice story, that teaches us about who we are, where we've been, and where we might be able to go. I know we're coming up on time, but I wanna maybe see if we got time for some rapid fire.
Yeah, I think that'll be great.
These are
Bring it on.
just gonna lob these at you. Do you want to do the first one, Quinn?
Yeah, if you could direct one play that you haven't yet, which one would it be?
Come From Away. It's
Okay.
not released yet. When it's released, we'll do it at the studio. It's the story of 9/11.
Whoa.
And the island, right? And what happened there in the story.
Right in Canada, right? Is this where all the was it Halifax? No.
No, yes.
Yeah, where all the planes
Yes,
had to land,
they had
right?
to land, right. So it's the story of that community coming together.
Right, and
to
like one
support
day
all
they
that.
had to
Yep.
support like all these thousands of people.
Food,
that will be
food.
an amazing
Oh, it's
performance.
amazing.
Man, y'all
musical.
go after that stuff. Because didn't y'all just do I'll Never See Another Butterfly?
We did.
And I mean,
What's that about?
So it's about the Holocaust.
Whoa.
Terezin was a place where they touted it as a resort for Jews to come to, but then it wasn't.
Right.
It was the holding house to send to Auschwitz.
At some point, you guys should pick like a story with like political significance or a heavy moral to it. You know,
We should at some
I mean,
point.
all these puff pieces,
Some point.
feel good stories.
Well, this was I bet you know Stephanie Borland.
I do. So
you would know Stephanie.
Yes,
You're on
I
the-
do.
So Stephanie's daughter, she proposed that project for us.
Yeah, that's,
and they were very instrumental in that.
It is just another sediment to what you guys are doing of like nothing's out of touch with us. We will go after anything. We'll do it. And
Yeah, y'all are not afraid.
But that's what you did. That's how you solve
That
problems.
is what you
right?
do.
That's how you solve
Yes.
problems. You get them out and you talk about them.
So,
Yeah.
Quinn, I want to know, what show would you direct if you could direct any kind of performance? Any theatrical?
I would probably do, because I'm a super fangirl about it right now. I'm obsessed. My algorithm's obsessed with it.
Wicked?
Yes. God.
Oh, yeah.
And I know that's very just cliche right now,
No.
but I am all about it. I want to be Galinda. I just
Think of the stories that tells, and it's amazing.
well,
It's
and
amazing.
so I've been trying to like look at pieces from when it was on Broadway, but the movie screen adaptation, the way they purposefully picked Elphaba to be a black lady and stuff, like there is so much significance with this of just being different. And it's really, for me as a parent, I have a 6-year-old who's obsessed with it right now, and just trying to talk about, like, she was like, why is Elphaba wicked? And I was like, well, society is making her wicked because she's just, the whole thing is really opening up some conversations that, as a parent, of like, how am I going to talk to my kid about racism and doing this and doing that, where it's really kind of helped me
foster those conversations
yes,
at home.
in a very manner that they can understand.
Dang, that was deep.
Yeah, I know. I didn't mean to go there, but yeah, Wicked.
Well,
The soundtrack is, I'm going to defy gravity one
Well,
day.
this is my segue to pitch you my theater idea that I've
Okay.
been stewing on.
Love it.
Recently saw Nosferatu. I've probably talked about it way too much on the podcast already. I'm on a Dracula vampire kick right now.
Love
all right, so here's my pitch. A Dracula performance, right? So the vampire story, the person, well, because the story is always like, guy goes to Dracula's castle, gets kind of stuck there in like the boonies or the mountains of Romania. What if it was the American South? And Count Dracula was like some old Southern planter aristocrat in like a ramshackle plantation house, and like the Yankee lawyer comes in, and Dracula is like a Southern gentleman.
I mean, they made True Blood.
I mean, because like Southern Gothic's a thing,
right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
and
love it.
I feel like that could be, or maybe it's like in the mountains, like in Appalachia or I don't know. I just feel like a Southern Dracula, Southern Nosferatu. That's my, poor man's
that'd be good out at
trademark.
Snow camp.
Snow camp would be perfect for it. It would be so perfect. Anyway, that's
Make it happen. Make it happen.
all right. So we did.
Hit her another question.
Yeah, funniest stage mishap.
Willie Fisher was playing the Hook character in Peter and the Starcatcher, and he had this big dramatic moment where he put his foot up on the trunk to like speak whatever,
Right.
and his pants split open down the back. Right now, he had a coat on.
The
so,
show must go on.
So he just put his leg back down and finished the speech and came running off. And he's like, damn, my pants split. And he had to go on in like 2 minutes. So I grabbed it and I'm like stitching him up while he's on his body, like trying to get him back on stage. And we did it. We got him back on stage.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah.
What food do you get through? You got performances.
We
going,
love the snack
rehearsal.
question. Like, what's
me
your
too, 'cause
fuel?
I'm a snack.
What's my
Yeah.
fuel?
We
Yeah.
learned from Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro, Uncrustables. That was we had a little like press gaggle with him, and I was like, wow, that was the interesting thing I learned from you, Governor of Pennsylvania, was Uncrustables fuel you.
I'm a sandwich girl. Yeah.
Yeah.
I eat a lot of sandwiches. I love eggs. I love jerky. I love
Yeah.
shrimp. I eat shrimp all the time. That's my protein meals.
You have a bag of shrimp and backstage at.
I'll take shrimp in my lunch bag.
Like in the, like you unshell them in it, like the whole,
Like
or
with the cocktail sauce. and
I
just
love
let 'em-
that,
yeah,
like a shrimp
yeah,
cocktail on the go.
You know, being a woman, like feeding yourself protein has to be like a full-time job.
Right,
So
right.
right now, everything I snack on, how much protein? I got to make sure I
priority.
get my protein. So
That's great.
that's where I'm at right
That's
now.
a unique one, shrimp
Yeah,
cocktail.
yeah, I like it. I'll remember that for sure. What's your favorite musical playlist?
Okay, this is cliche, but Hamilton.
Yeah.
I just, the nuances in it and how he mocks history and brings history in and comes like there's just so much in that is just
Yeah.
amazing. But honestly, my answer is whatever I'm working on at the time.
Sure.
I'm getting ready to direct Tarzan. So
Oh, yeah.
Tarzan is everything I'm listening to right now. trying to,
be
That's
my
right.
Phil
home.
Collins,
That's it.
right?
That's
Yeah.
it. Little Phil Collins out of snow camp.
Oh, you
so.
Quinn, what's your theater playlist?
So when I really started getting into it, it was I was a big fan of Rent starting out.
Oh,
That
yeah.
kind of got
Yeah,
me
yeah,
into to playlisting of musical stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then right now, I just told you it was Wicked. But other than that, I'm not 100% on. I really did a lot of Grease. That was
Grease was
one that I
good,
did
yeah.
for a while. Yeah, all the just big bangers. I'm not that theater musical kid that knows them inside and out.
My
but-
favorite music of all time is Shrek. And I know that sounds crazy, but it is a beautiful story of accepting who you are, right? And it just is so powerful. And it follows him through his journey of opening up and accepting and getting hurt again and still willing to come back. And the music's fantastic too. So that's my favorite.
Ogres have
That's a good one.
layers.
Ogres have layers.
Well, and
like
the
onions.
Descendants-
Like onions.
The Descendants playlist. My daughter
yeah.
has that, so
I
like we
directed
sing
that
a
too.
lot. And
Les Mis?
I like Les Mis.
Jesus
I can
Christ
watch-
Superstar, perhaps?
My,
Ethel
I know-
Merman, Annie Get Your Gun?
My voice teacher in college walked out of Les Mis on Broadway.
Why?
He's like, if they walked across France one more time.
Oh my gosh.
He was kind of a jazz hand kind
That's
of
a-
guy.
okay.
He loved happy
Gotcha.
musicals.
He walked out and immediately went to see Cats.
Yes,
you know?
yes,
That was-
that was more Rondom's.
So we are coming up on time. I want to just ask you one more question.
Yes,
We have, and Daniel might have another one.
No,
but
I'm good. You can take it. I wanted to ask where folks can find you, but Quinn will go first, and then we'll get your socials. Yeah.
It's you're always here. If you really want to piss your parents off, get a degree in the liberal arts.
Right.
What do you want to say to people that are listening that just think theater programs and what you're doing is
a bad
just
investment.
Right. It's not worth the money. It's just a breeding ground for wokeism and gay people, and it's just not what society needs.
It's the whole. Okay, let's push it back to COVID. What did y'all do during COVID? You streamed Netflix.
Yeah.
You listened to podcasts. You listen. You involved yourself in the arts. That's what people did during COVID. That's what got people through COVID, right? It was actors and singers and musicians and podcasters, and that's what got people through COVID. So if you can just put that perspective on the rest of life, like if we're at our most difficult times and that's what we can turn to, that's where we turn, then what's most important to us? Right? What is important to us? Yeah. It's our playlist. It's our. I have a high school student I taught. Well, I taught high school back in Idaho, and he went on to become a sound designer for Apple.
Wow.
Right? And it's our. What ringtones are we picking on our phone? Right? That was a theater kid who designed that for you. There's just so much, and there's so many opportunities, and it's so much more than what people think it is.
Yeah.
Right? Like.
Well, it teaches you time management, responsibility. You got to know your role. You got to know your lines. You got to know when your cues are, when to talk, when to not talk.
Right.
You also have to empathize. You got to know who is this character that I'm trying to inhabit. And then also more practically, like how many brands, how many brands have had successful pitch meetings because a theater kid was in the room and knew how to deliver an idea to a group of funders or backers.
Well, and you think you've both been in shows, right? You are forced into a small group you didn't choose.
Yeah.
I mean, you auditioned, but you didn't choose these 8 people that you have to rely on mentally and physically and really spiritually for the next 2 months, right? And so you have to learn how to get along and support each other and acceptance and open-mindedness and tolerance and all of that. That's
and get
important.
up in front of strangers.
And, right, because we want them to watch, right?
Yeah,
Like,
right.
Like all that applies anywhere, any job, any career.
Well, I'm
right?
an
That's-
exhibitionist, so they can watch.
There you go. That's good
Quinn's
too.
unique, yeah.
That's good too. So yeah, it's just be loud and proud that you're gonna major in liberal arts. Just go do it and make a difference in the world, right? Like
Hell yeah.
whatever it is, like just go do it.
Man, this is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Tammy, thanks for coming on the
Aw,
show, and
thanks for
folks,
inviting me.
thanks for demanding that we have Tammy on the show. We were always going to get around to it, but we appreciate the encouragement. Tammy, where can folks connect with you and the rest of your fine friends at Studio One?
So our website is www.studio1online.org. That's the number 1. Don't spell it out. And that's our website. And it has all the snow camp information on it also. And then you can find us on Facebook. I post on Facebook daily, sometimes more than once. That's absolutely the quickest way to connect with us. For you youngins, we're on Instagram too. I try to figure that out sometimes too. But, so we're very active on social media and our website. And you can sign up for our newsletter on our website too that helps you get emails. So we'd love to have.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And is anything else, Quinn, I'm forgetting? Is that...
I think we might have a special
That's right.
gift
Oh
for
my
you.
gosh, yeah, you're right. We have a special gift. I don't know how I forgot this one. Every guest gets a T-shirt from TS Designs, Alamance
Eric,
County's
yes.
premier apparel company.
Yeah.
And it's got our beautiful, sexy Hometown Holler logo on it.
Love it.
And
That's Daniel's.
as it's right
Love
sporting it
it.
right now for the folks at home watching us on the YouTube. And yeah, they're just great shirts, ethically made, fair trade, North Carolina cotton. Like, what gets better than that? So we're going to send you home with that. Tammy, thank you so much for coming on the Hometown Holler. Folks, thank you all so much for listening. We recently hit 25,000 followers just on
cool.
Instagram. That doesn't even include TikTok and Facebook and our other platforms. So thank you guys for driving this journey that we're on, and we're having fun, and we're glad that you're with us having fun too. So we'll catch y'all next week.
That's right.